two twin sisters, a $200 million mansion, and a secret buried in the walls that would change everything forever. What they found inside should never have existed. And what they did with that discovery will leave you speechless. It was a rainy Wednesday when Ayana and Amara signed the contract for the most expensive mansion ever sold to black women in Brazil. They were only 32 years old. They built a digital empire from scratch. Started selling handmade jewelry at the city market. Today, they run a natural cosmetics company that makes millions per month. They're known on social media. They inspire thousands of women. And they decided to buy the ultimate symbol of achievement. A historic mansion in the heart of an upscale neighborhood. 75,000 square feet. 12 suites. Heated pool. Private cinema. Helipad. The property had over 100 years of history. It belonged to a traditional coffee-growing family. Passed through generations. And now it was theirs. But from day one, something was wrong. Ayana felt it. A chill down her spine as she crossed the iron gate. The immaculate garden hid a heavy energy. The century-old trees seemed to whisper. The wind carried a smell of mold and ancient secrets. Amara tried to ignore it. Said it was just anxiety. The emotion of realizing such a big dream. But deep down, she felt it too. That house held something beyond luxury and history. It held pain. On the first night, they slept in separate rooms. The mansion was too big not to feel alone. Ayana woke up at 3 in the morning. A noise. Coming from downstairs. Dragging footsteps on the marble floor. She went down slowly. Her heart pounding. Moonlight entered through the huge glass windows, creating dancing shadows on the walls. And then she saw it. A door. A door that wasn't there before. Or that she simply hadn't noticed. It was under the main staircase. Small. Discreet. Made of dark wood with an oxidized bronze handle. Ayana reached out. Touched the cold handle. And heard a whisper. Clear as crystal. Coming from inside. A female voice. Saying a single word. Help. She opened the door. Behind it was a staircase. Narrow. Steep. Descending into total darkness. The smell of mold grew stronger. Mixed with damp earth. And something else. Something she couldn't identify. But that made her want to run. Ayana grabbed her phone. Turned on the flashlight. And started to descend. Each step creaked under her feet. The walls were stone. Damp. Covered in dark green moss. She counted 23 steps. Until she reached the bottom. And what she saw made her tremble. A basement. But not an ordinary basement. It was a room. With chains attached to the walls. Rusted shackles still hanging. Nail marks on the stones. Deep scratches. As if someone had tried to dig an exit with their bare hands. In the center of the room was a wooden table. And on it, a metal box. Ayana approached. Opened the box with trembling hands. Inside were documents. Papers yellowed by time. Contracts. But not ordinary contracts. They were records of buying and selling. Of people. Of human beings. With names. Ages. Values. Detailed physical descriptions. And a list. A list of 57 names. 57 lives. 57 souls who passed through that basement. And were never seen again. Ayana ran upstairs. Woke Amara. Told her everything. At first, Amara didn't believe it. Thought it was a nightmare. But when they went down together, the truth was there. Cold. Brutal. Undeniable. That luxury mansion, that symbol of achievement, was built with blood money. The family who owned it wasn't just coffee growers. They were human traffickers. They kept people enslaved illegally even decades after abolition. Used that basement as a prison. And no one ever knew. Or worse, they knew and chose to forget. The twins stayed up all night, reading document after document. There were letters, written by a woman named Esperança, which means hope. She was 19 years old when she was taken to that house. Worked 16 hours a day. Slept on the cold basement floor. Dreamed of returning to her family. To her small son she left on the farm where she was born. Esperança wrote in secret. On pieces of paper she stole from the main house. With charcoal she took from the fireplace. She documented everything. The abuse. The hunger. The despair. And at the end of the last letter, she wrote, "If someone finds this, tell my story. Don't let my name die in oblivion. I existed. I suffered. I mattered." Amara cried reading those words. Felt the pain cross through time. Ayana held her sister's hand. And they made a decision. They weren't going to hide that secret. They weren't going to pretend they didn't know. That discovery would change everything. But it was the right thing to do. The next day, they called a historian. A specialist in the history of slavery in Brazil. He came to the mansion. Went down to the basement. And when he came back up, he was pale. Said that was one of the most important historical discoveries of the last 50 years. There were rumors about that family. But never proof. Now they had proof. Original documents. Written testimonies. Physical evidence. That basement was a cemetery of memories. And it needed to be exposed. The twins knew what was at stake. The mansion would be worth nothing after this. Nobody wants to buy a house with that past. They would lose $200 million. The entire investment. The symbol of achievement would become a burden. But Ayana looked at Amara and said, "Our success was built with dignity. We're not going to tarnish that by protecting the crimes of people who built wealth-destroying lives." Amara agreed. And together, they made the announcement. The news exploded. Newspapers around the world covered the story. The Millionaire twins who gave up a fortune to expose the truth. Activists called them heroes. Historians thanked them. But there were also attacks. Descendants of the original family tried to sue. Said it was defamation. That it tarnished their ancestors' names. But the documents didn't lie. The truth was there. Written in ink and blood. And it couldn't be erased. Ayana and Amara transformed the mansion into a memorial. Each room now tells a story. The basement was preserved exactly as it was found. With the chains. The marks on the walls. The table with the documents protected in display cases. There are plaques with the 57 names. Each person who passed through there is remembered. Esperança has a portrait painted by a black artist. Based on the description she gave of herself in her letters. She's smiling. Free. As she could never be in life. The memorial receives thousands of visitors per month. Schools bring students to learn the real history of Brazil. Not the romanticized version from books. But the raw truth. Painful. Necessary. The twins didn't make money from this. On the contrary. They invested millions in maintenance. In research. In education. But they gained something money can't buy. The certainty that they made a difference. That 57 forgotten lives are now remembered. That Esperança didn't die in vain. 1 year after the discovery, something extraordinary happened. A 70-year-old woman appeared at the memorial. She brought an old photo. Faded. of a 19-year-old girl. It was Esperança. And that woman was her great-granddaughter. She cried reading the letters from the great-grandmother she never met. Said she grew up hearing stories about an ancestor who disappeared. That the family searched for decades. And never knew what happened. Now she knew. And could finally cry. Finally have a place to remember. Finally say goodbye. Ayana and Amara realized then. That mansion wasn't a curse. It was a responsibility. A calling. They were chosen to find that secret. To give voice to the silenced. To transform pain into memory. And memory into justice. The money they lost came back in other forms. Partnerships. International recognition. Invitations to speak. But most importantly, it came back in the form of purpose. Of knowing their lives have meaning beyond financial success. Today they say, the best purchase we made wasn't the mansion. It was the decision to honor the truth. Because wealth without conscience is empty. Success without responsibility is an illusion. And luxury built on suffering is a prison disguised as achievement. They continue running their company. Continue inspiring millions. But now they carry a greater mission. To remind the world that history isn't just what's in the books. It's what's hidden in basements. Buried in foundations. Whispering in the walls of old houses. And that only when we face these ghosts can we truly be free. If you discovered a secret like this, what would you do? Would you hide it to protect your investment? Or would you expose the truth even if it meant losing everything? Leave your answer in the comments. And if this story impacted you, share it. Because there are thousands of stories like Esperança's still waiting to be told. And only when we tell them do we honor the memory of those who came before. And build a future where no one else needs to whisper pleas for help in the dark.